Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in this video, we're going to be talking to you about why the one who begs loses.
Whoa, sounds so intense.
I made it dramatic.
What do they lose?
Everything.
Oh, man.
Pretty much whatever they're begging for.
Oh, well, we're going to get into it because we know that when you're going through a breakup, it incites panic in you. And sometimes we resort to begging. Sometimes we resort to our most just primal way of resisting what we don't want to happen. And we just say, please give me one more chance. So we're going to get into it.
Yeah, ironically, it's almost like the exact opposite is way more attractive. You know, where it's like if somebody ends it, instead of begging, you're like, okay,
Bye.
see you later.
Yeah, it's like, wait, what?
Wait, what just happened?
Yeah.
What am I missing out on here? That primal panic is one of the worst feelings in the world. I know that feeling. It feels like something horrible has happened, like almost like physically, like you almost got hit by a car, or you know where something happens to you,
Yeah,
and
like
you get that
shock feeling,
rush of emotion,
Yeah.
this like anxiety, this wave of anxiety. It's just like that primal panic. It's just like you feel like you're gonna die without that person. Just like what are you doing? Like, please give this another chance. I'll do anything to make it work. I care about you. I love you. I want this work. And you know, some of it is not quite begging, but it's so close to it that it's, you know, I don't know, groveling or
Strong, convincing.
yeah. When you're trying to convince, it's getting to the place where it's very unattractive for that person. So please, if you're at that point where you have not done those things, stay in no contact, because if you reach out, you're going to be a lot more likely to trying to call them more, the long paragraphs explaining yourself, the handwritten letter, how you're going to change, all of those things almost always backfire. And you got to listen up, because you're going to have moments of weakness, and if you're not ready for them, you're going to crack.
Yeah, and it's tough. We understand that when you're in that state, you kind of resort to it because you really want a chance, and you're entering kind of that state of desperation because you feel hopeless. But that is exactly what that kind of behavior omits. It begins to signal to your ex in that moment scarcity. I know you had made the joke earlier about, well, wait a minute, what am I missing out on? You know, if somebody is able to more accept the breakup, which is a very hard thing to do, but when you are begging and pleading, now you're signaling, man, I have not much better going on for me.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of what's going on. And we know that in your heart, you're trying to say, we have a really good thing, and I want to preserve that really good thing. And maybe in some cases, you've been together for years and years and years, and you're going through the shock of, how can this person leave me? I want to retain this life, and I want to retain the life that we planned. And so begging is the only way that in your mind you think, okay, I need to let this person know how much I care and how much I'm willing to work on things. However, this can really turn into this kind of manipulative behavior too. And it can often push your ex further away rather than bringing them closer, because we are often not hearing our partner when we're begging. We're not hearing our ex when we're begging. We're just thinking about, we need to repair, we need to fix, this can't happen. And we're going into full panic mode instead of saying, wait a minute, they made this decision because of something serious is happening that I need to put my attention to. And so that's something that we need to pay attention to ourselves. Begging also removes their ability to miss you. When we're begging and we are blowing up their phone or showing up at their door, sometimes even on your knees, right? On the gravel, begging to make this relationship work, it removes their ability to miss you, because you are inserting yourself or trying to force yourself back into their life. And it doesn't create that absence that's needed for, first of all, you to be able to calm down, and for them to be able to really reflect and sit in that decision.
Yeah, it just kills the dynamic that you had. Because like when you're attracted to somebody, and two people are attracted to each other, they value each other, they enjoy each other's company. There's a tension, there's a playfulness, there's just this strong connection of desire to be around that person, and when somebody's shifting to a place of begging, trying to keep them in their life, the other person just like their instant reaction is do the opposite, like push away and be like, oh, what are you doing? Like, no, this is what, I can't believe I'm seeing you like this. I was attracted to you as this, person, and getting to know you was very attractive, and I felt like I was meeting somebody special, and now you're begging me to be with me. It's like, ooh, no. Now I'm like, a lot of people are going to feel like that. Mm-hmm. And, try not to take that personal, because it's not so much about who you are, it's about what you're doing. You can hear that lightning.
Even the skies agree.
Yeah, no begging. It's a shock to you too.
I know the lights were flickering earlier. Right?
Yeah.
Thought we were summoning the spirits of past beggars or something. Past
beggars. Everybody's warning you from the afterlife. Don't beg. You don't want that power imbalance where they're kind of like feeling like they have control of the situation. Now I'm in control here. Now I am going to decide what happens with this situation. They no longer fear, well, they could mess this up and lose you. You want someone to feel like that. You want both people to feel like they have to treat each other well, otherwise the other person's leaving. You don't want one person to feel like, well, I can do whatever I want, and you're going to beg to be with me.
Yeah, you never want to give somebody that much power over you.
It kills attraction.
Mm-hmm. And underneath the begging is usually this fear of, this is my last chance. If I don't act now, it's over. If I don't fight, it's over. And it's your brain saying, this is the last time I'm going to see them. This is, the one time that you have to fight for the relationship. And a lot of times it just doesn't work that way. And ultimately, you don't want somebody to stay with you because they pity you. You don't want somebody to stay with you because you've begged your way back into the relationship and they still are like ruminating over the reasons why they broke up with you in the first place or why they wanted to.
Every once in a while, I'll see somebody that was able to beg to keep their ex, but then it usually winds up falling apart quickly after.
Yeah, so it's really important to hear out whatever concerns that they had, whatever led to the breakup, and really understand relationships, which is why we talk a lot about attachment theory on this channel. Mm-hmm. We talk about reasons for breakup. We talk about managing anxiety. And so these are really things that you want to focus on. And we know it's hard because many of you watching this video may have already begged, maybe even a little. So we know that that's there. Mm-hmm.
My thing that I was like, we just have to talk about it, right? We just gotta.
If I just see you in person,
yeah, let's just talk about this. Like, if we talk about it, we can fix this.
Oh, I understand. I was on a train the whole
time. She didn't listen.
I didn't listen. It didn't turn out well.
Yeah, it didn't turn out well for me either because I just thought, well, if we just talk about it, we can fix this thing. But sometimes you don't really know why they're leaving the situation. So how are you supposed to fix it? Because they don't want to tell you. They're not ready to tell you. They're not being honest about the reasons for the breakup. Or they're just not able to communicate with you in that time because they need to shut down.
Yeah.
Right? There's so many different reasons why they might not want to connect. But you keep thinking, if we just connect, if we just talk about this, we can fix it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That was me.
Yep. And it typically does not work how you imagine it to work. And
didn't work for me.
A lot of times when we're begging, once again, we're not listening. And so it makes your ex double down. It makes your ex more aggravated because they can sense that you're not hearing them or not trying to understand what they're trying to do and why they're trying to do that. And so we have to take a minute to kind of step back, reel it back and say, okay, what were they trying to convey? I also want to add, it's important to be aware and cognizant of your own abandonment issues. And I don't mean to say that if you beg after a breakup that you automatically have abandonment issues, because if you're attached to anyone, we're humans, of course, we're going to have that knee-jerk reaction to save something that's good or that we think is good. However, sometimes if there's like this incessant type of begging where you almost can't help but to continue pestering your ex or blowing up their phone or showing up at their door, and it's been a while, you haven't given yourself that time to soothe, or you find yourself unable to soothe, then at that point start to reflect back on times in your life where you may have been abandoned and what traumas this might be digging up. Because sometimes this kind of protest behavior can be an echo of the past. It can be experiences that you've had early on showing back up now in this breakup, and you still get that message of, I can't handle this, I can't take it, I'm like this helpless kid who can't move past this. So focus on self-soothing and think about how your behavior is impacting them, but also you. Is it showing you the areas in which you have anxiety? It's something that is important to consider. And I'll add one more thing. I know there's like that cheesy phrase of like, know your worth, you know? Mm-hmm. Know your value, sis, you know? And it can be like a catchphrase, you know? But it is true. You know, your ex's decision to end the relationship is not a reflection on who you are or what you're capable of. A lot of times we are begging because we're saying, I need to retain this no matter what, and I'm toast if I'm outside of this relationship. Or we have a really hard time imagining what we are or who we are outside of this relationship. And so we kind of succumb to the begging because we're saying, okay, I need to sacrifice all of me to make this relationship work. We want you to be able to retain that self-respect, to retain that self-worth, and say, no, I have something valuable here. Even if there were mistakes made in the relationship, I still have value here, and I need to be able to focus that back on myself and focus that energy on figuring out what's going on.
Yep. And a couple other things we didn't talk about. We create our own value. If somebody doesn't see the value in staying with us, begging only decreases our value in their eyes. Okay? It's like telling them, well, you know, they don't want to pay $20 for that item. You're like, how about 15? Mm-hmm. How about 10? How about 5? How about buy one, get one free? That's what you're doing every time you beg. You know, you're just saying, I'm not worth this. And the other thing that I really want to harp on is, I think probably the worst form of begging is showing up at your ex's house. I cannot tell you how many people wind up saying that they're going to call the police, or they actually do call the police. Mm-hmm. And that takes it to a whole nother level. And I have seen that several times in the last like week or two.
Yeah.
So please never show up at someone's house. It will make the situation so much worse. It's crazy because you're thinking, wait, but just last week I could go there. I was spending the night for days at a time, and now I can't just drop by? No.
Yeah, and they might be nice about it in the moment, but then you might get that restraining order in the mail.
Well, that's right. Yeah, because they may be scared in that moment, and so they're nice just to appease you and not make you angry. But as soon as you leave, they're like, oh my gosh, what was that? Mm-hmm. Right? Freaks them out.
Yeah.
So really think about these things, because begging ultimately makes them lose attraction. If you've already done it, there's nothing you can do, but don't reach out to them. They need to reach out to you. They need to miss you, okay?
Mm-hmm, exactly. And you want somebody to want you for who you are and to want to be with you. You know, when we get into that arena of begging and trying to convince somebody to stay with us, then we're not really being authentic to ourselves.
That's right.
Right? So consider all these things that we mentioned, and if you have already done the begging, like Craig said, have compassion for yourself. I know many of you are probably now having flashbacks of the time that you begged, and you're like, oh man. But use that as fuel to be able to grow your confidence, to say, okay, I might have been in that headspace at the time, but I am in a different headspace now, and I have agency over my choices and over my actions and over my behavior.
And look at the Creative Healing course, because we have a number of activities, especially at the beginning, towards the beginning of the course, that's about processing that breakup. I remember there was some very upfront that I really wanted you guys to be able to process, because it's so new. So there's a lot of stuff in there in the beginning, especially heavily on processing the begging and the pleading, and just getting past that, and the fear, that the overwhelming amount of fear that you have in your unconscious about losing that person. All right, hopefully this one's been helpful to you. If you'd like to get our help personally, you could do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Zoom calls. Victoria is also available for Zoom calls.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Click on her name on the top of the website to schedule with her. That's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.